This is for We the People News. Again, this is a learning uh, video. I'm not an attorney, don't care to be an attorney. Take everything with a grain of salt. If you have any questions, contact your attorney. I never just look straight forward. Always look around you, for the outside forces may want to cause you harm. The more you know, the more you can protect yourself against that harm.
Federal constitutions, your charter. Not only that, it's in non-compliance with the laws of the state that you're bound to. So it's a good little read. Go down there and you'll actually go down and download it, and you'll learn some interesting stuff about your county. And listen, you've seen people in courts, or you've heard things about people in courts where the judge will say, don't bring that Constitution stuff in here. And you're thinking, it just bewilders people. What's he talking about? He's supposed to be, I got these constitutional rights. What's this guy talking about? Because what's happening is you're in an administrative court, okay? Just as if you were a Disney employee and the code enforcement body of Disney called you in and were trying to discipline you. That's Disney's administrative court. Well, these municipalities have administrative courts. And these towns and these boroughs have administrative courts, okay? But if you were a Disney employee, you'd only have rights and privileges, and you'd also have duties and obligations that were granted to you by Disney. I mean, that's obvious. If you're a Disney employee, you got rights and privileges granted to you by Disney. And you'd have duties and obligations, because of these rights and privileges, you'd have duties and obligations that were granted to you by Disney. So you'd have duties and obligations because you had these rights and privileges. What's the same thing with your county, your borough, your township, your state? Just take out Disney and put in their township of Aston or county of Delaware. They're the same thing, okay? Now, Disney has no jurisdiction to fine or imprison you because you have God-given unalienable rights secured by the constitutions. Now, Disney can only fire you, all right? Now, even if a corporate fiction such as Disney fires you, if they did it in a way that violated your God-given protected rights, like saying, well, if you don't wear a mask, we're going to fire you. Well, gee, I'm pretty sure that's a forced medical intervention upon you. And that's someone making legal determinations. It's sort of a simulation of law of what they're doing there, simulation of the legal process. Because someone there determined that because some other bonehead wrote down that you got to wear a mask, that bonehead must have authority over you, and therefore they must have authority to impose a medical intervention upon you. So that would violate your constitutionally protected rights. So you would have recourse to seek redress against Disney, the Disney Corporation, or the person acting for the corporation doing business as Disney, meaning your boss, your supervisor, whoever's claiming that they're acting for Disney, that are doing these unconstitutional, illegal, unlawful things to you. So you'd have redress against them. Now look, these service corporations that are masquerading as governments, what are deceptively treating you as their artificial person. Remember we talked about body politics. Artificial persons belong to body politics. Are you an artificial person? I know I'm not. Some people want to be artificial persons. That's up to them. If they want to live like that, that's up to them. And some people you're never going to be able to pull out of a rabbit hole. It's just not going to happen. They're just going to want to stay in that matrix. So, listen, they're deceptively treating you as their artificial person, and are also bound to the knowledge. They're also bound to acknowledge that you have God-given unalienable rights that are secured by the Constitution. So even in that kangaroo administrative court we just referenced, that they trick you to be in, there's no doubt about it. That so-called summons, which isn't a summons to appear, that thing you're getting in the mail is not a summons. Process servers serve summonses. That's why you pay someone $100 to serve the complaint and a copy of the summons to somebody. That's how summons get delivered by a process server. You don't drop them in the mail because, geez, if I could just drop a complaint and a summons in the mail for somebody, geez, I save myself a heck of a lot of money, save myself about $100. So we don't serve summonses through the United States Postal Service or any other mail service. We serve summons through process servers. These are the basics. So even in that kangaroo court that we referenced there, where the judge said, hey, don't bring that Constitution stuff in here. Guess what? He still violated your rights. So even though you're in an administrative court, that judge guy there, he's got an oath to uphold the Constitution. And if you don't know enough and you go through the process and he bangs you over the head with their little stupid fines, well, then that becomes your fault in a way, because you didn't exercise your rights. You have to exercise your rights. They don't exercise for you automatically. That judge is not going to exercise your rights for you. Even though technically he should, because of his oath he should, he's not. If you're going to go through like all the other monkeys that he sees go through, and they don't know any better, he's going to treat you like another one of the monkeys, okay? So, listen, just because you were tricked to be into that administrative hearing, you haven't, nor could you ever waive your unalienable rights, as they are unalienable, which means they can't be given away or taken away, okay? They can't be sold, basically. Now, if you want to ignore your unalienable rights, that's strictly up to you. But if you invoke your unalienable rights, no party can knock down your eviction of those rights. I think that's the word. No one can knock that when you invoke those rights, they can't knock that down. They have to honor that. That's listen, you got rights, I got rights. I can't do things to you, because if you don't know any better, I can't take advantage of you. Because if I took advantage of you because you didn't know any better, I'd be committing a crime. I'd be harming and damaging you with no justification, no jurisdiction to do so, and no justification to do so. So I would be committing a crime against you, and that's what these people are doing to you. These counties, these states, the boroughs, cities, townships, they're committing crimes here. But you, in order for them to get to the criminal stage, you've got to let them know. You've got to invoke your rights. Hey, here's my affidavit of status. Here's who I am. Oh, by the way, that document you sent me, that's forgery and fraud. And here's why. And listen, here's a notice of claim for you. If you don't take care of this matter and get me off your tax roll, or, rectify this matter, I'm going to have to move this claim against you, the individual man who's responsible for sending you those papers, that claim. So, listen, lienable means it's a right detaining the property. Now, your rights are your property. Everything's your property. My body, my information, my genetic material are my property. My rights are my property. So a right of detaining the property of another until some claim can be satisfied. Well, just think about that. A right of detaining the property of another until some claim can be satisfied. How can somebody make a claim against my rights? Mr. Faggiola doesn't have a right to be free. Mr. Faggiola doesn't have the right to make his own medical decisions. Mr. Faggiola doesn't have the right to free speech. Could anyone ever make such a claim? Absolutely not. Okay? So they can't lien your rights. That's why your rights are unalienable. They can't be lien. No one can I can't take my neighbor John's rights from him. He can't take my rights. Like I said, if I can't do it to John, he can't do it to me. So just keep that basics in mind. Can anyone ever claim your rights from or can they arbitrarily suspend your rights? Now, if you committed a crime, that's one thing. Yeah, they're going to suspend your rights, depending on what you did, depending on what the crime is. I'm not talking about running a traffic light or something, but if you harmed or damaged somebody, did physical damage to them, or decimated their property, they're not going to suspend your rights. But no one can just make a claim against your rights if you haven't done anything to anybody. If you haven't harmed or damaged anybody else's rights, or harmed or damaged anybody's property, or the individual man or woman. Now listen, the natural rights of life and liberty, like I said, are unalienable. Unalienable means it can't be liened. You can't lien rights, okay? And if your property, remember your rights are your property, and your land and your home are your property. You have a right to own these. You have a right to acquire and protect these things. Your rights, and you have a right to acquire and protect the land and property. So once you acquire it, that's yours. It's your property. I don't care about titles. I hate that phrase. I can't get it out. I don't care about alloidial titles. I care about can I produce something that shows I paid for the property? That's it. Once I do that, we're done. It's my property. And there's no such thing as, well, you own title, they own the property. Oh, it's all nonsense. Like another wise individual told me, listen, I don't care if my thing's written on a square of toilet paper. If it proves I paid for this, it's my property. And there's nobody going to ever come into court and challenge you and state that you don't own the property. Because generally the only ones doing that are always what? The attorneys. How much time do we spend talking about attorneys in the Telegram group? Why do you think we do that? He's the second weakest link. The first weakest link is the people working for the county or the borough or the township. The attorney's the second weakest link. Once you knock the attorney out, which is not hard to do when you follow stuff that Brett Fountain's giving you and stuff that I give you, once you knock the attorney out, well, now you're at an even weaker link. And you should be able to crush whoever's coming at you from the county, the borough, or the township, because they're button pushers. They don't know what they're doing. They got these jobs. They tell them, this is your job, and this is what you do, and this is how you do it. Other than that, they have no understanding of the legal or lawful basis of what they're doing. They just do what they're told, like the good little slaves that they are, because they are slaves of that county, that borough, that township, because they are artificial persons. Property assessor, tax collector, mayor, borough manager. They're all artificial titles. They're artificial persons. So they are owned by those corporations. Now listen, like we talked about before, no corporation can force you to be one of their artificial persons. As not only would that be illegal, because it'll be forcing someone to contract. Listen, you can't be forced to contract with anybody. Like I said, I can't force my neighbor John into a contract, and he can't force me into a contract with anybody. I can't force you into a contract with him. He can't force you into a contract with somebody else. I can't do the same to John. I can't force him into contracts. So no one that would be forcing you into a contract. Like I said, which cannot be done. Hence acceptance. Remember the elements of a contract. Offer, acceptance. Unless you accept, okay. Accept means by will. By your free will, you've accepted. Okay, so unless you, by your free will, accept, you don't have a contract. Otherwise, it would be a forced indentured servitude. Hey, you're our taxpayer. You're our resident, whether you like it or not. Because we don't have any proof that you are, but we're just going to say you are. Well, that would constitute forced indentured servitude. In other words, it would be slavery. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to please get these down. The 5 elements of a contract: offer, acceptance, consideration, meeting of the minds, including full disclosure, and must be signed by 2 living sentient beings. You're missing any element of that, you don't have a contract. So then go through and look at your stuff and determine what's a service agreement and what's a contract. And you're going to learn that, oh my Lord, I don't have any contracts with these people. These people have deceived me into believing I have contracts and duties and obligations with them, and that they are providing me some privileges, or and that's always comical when you look at the actual privileges that they claim that they're to provide you. It's enough to make you throw up, when you look at it. So listen, like I said yesterday, if you want to be the man, you have to act like the man or the woman. Like I said, no discrimination here. Man, woman, they're all the same. So if you want to be the man, you have to act like the man. And part of being the man is basically learning what the elements of a contract are, because you need this to address them in your documents. And if you look in just about all my documents, I'm always hitting contracts. I'm talking contract law. You don't even see it in there when I'm talking about it, basically, but I'm sort of dismantling that artificial person they have, and this corporate fiction that they think somehow I have obligations to. Well, that's what that paperwork's doing. It's actually dismantling that without actually having to come out and say, hey, I'm not the all caps name. I'm the beneficiary. I just do it in a roundabout way. I'm doing it through contract law. Because guess where contract law is good? All over the world. I don't care if you're in the U.S. I don't care if you don't have a constitution in your country. Do you have contract law in your country? because all them companies and corporations all are doing business under the UCC code. And the UCC code is worldwide. So I don't need to use the UCC code. I hate the UCC code. I want nothing to do with the UCC code. I don't need to use the UCC code because all I need to know are the 5 basic elements of a contract. And I could pretty much take apart any written instrument that's put before me. So this is one of your, like we talk about tools in the toolbox, this is a really important tool to have. So learn this tool and use this tool and bang them over the head with this tool, because this is like Thor's hammer. When you understand this and you could lay this out in your documentation, your written instruments that you're providing to them, it's like banging them over the head with Thor's hammer. So that's it. Just want to keep this short and sweet. Have a great day, and don't let these people get you down. They are not who they think they are, and you don't understand the power of who you really are until you start going at these people. And like I said, tell people, once you have just a minor success, I don't care how small it is, you're going to be stunned at how much that boosts your ego, and your confidence. And you need both ego and confidence to do this stuff. You need to know who you are. You need to be strong enough character that you're not going to let somebody push you off your position. You've always got to hold your position. And you need the way you do that, as you start learning this stuff and you keep learning this stuff, you're going to learn. The more you learn, I'm talking real learning stuff. I'm not talking about your mom and dad signed you away at birth and you're a dead soul and you're lost at sea. I'm not talking about that stuff, that nonsense. I'm talking about real stuff that you could execute upon people, that you can use. Once you learn these real tools, the bar grievance process is I can't tell you in the judicial complaints, that process that Brett and Randy brought to us, basically, that is that is the golden egg right there, okay? The golden goose, if you want to say that. Man, if you execute that process and learn that process and use it early and often against any petty Fagershyster attorney that comes at you, your life is going to be so much easier, because you're going to see these little petty Fagershyster attorneys, these dirtballs, run from you, and they will, because they think you're just one of the average monkeys. They don't know who you are. So it's your duty and obligation to yourself as a man or woman to tell them who you are. And not only tell them who you are, you show them who you are through your actions. All right, guys, take care. Somebody's got to come up and challenge my affidavits here, or I'm the only one with facts on the record.
Diesel We the People News. Bye, y'all.